Right, we're going to learn a little bit about Passover. Rabbi Yossi Hecht is in the studio, and he comes in here every time there's a major Jewish religious holiday to teach us about the holiday. Rabbi Hecht is the rabbi of Chabad. How do I do on that? You have to. It's a gently Chabad, Lubavitch Jewish Center of Marion County, and I always like hearing the educational part and then also the fun part, like the food and the music and all that stuff. So, good morning, Rabbi. How are you?
Good morning. Thanks for inviting me. And you did it right. It's Chabad.
Just a little, not an exaggerated.
Chabad.
Yeah. Chabad, right? And on Rugrats, they exaggerate it. Have you ever watched Rugrats, the cartoon?
It's always fun talking about all these things.
Yeah.
It's always fun talking about holidays, and like you said, there's two parts to every holiday. There's the meaningful part, and then there's the food part.
The celebration.
Everything has to go along with food, right?
Yeah. Who knew back when the things that were happening that you're going to teach us about that were, in order to learn religion, you have to learn the history of us people, of all of us, right? So who knew back? I mean, those people didn't know. One day people are going to be having food to celebrate this, right?
Well, the interesting thing is that in the Torah itself, which is where the story of the Exodus is first recorded, God tells the Jewish people that it's going to be one day that your child is going to ask you about why you are doing this. So God is telling the people that you are going to be celebrating this forever. And when your children will come to you and ask you, why are we doing this? So you need to ask this. And of course, one of the most known things about the Seder, which is the special meal that we have on Passover, it's called the Seder. And you have the 4 questions, which is asked during the Seder. And the questions are, why is this night different than all other nights? And the child is supposed to ask these questions, and the parents are supposed to give the answer to the child, saying that this is why we're doing things that are different, that are strange on this holiday, because God took our ancestors out of Egypt, and that it's a time of freedom, etc., as opposed to any other holiday.
When we hear that God spoke to people, was God speaking to everybody? Was it always clear that it was God? Or were there certain people like yourself, like a rabbi, somebody with that kind of a position? Does God just, can God speak to me? And sometimes I wonder, is that God? Mm-hmm. I don't know. You never know if an idea came out of nowhere. You know what I mean?
Well, this is one of the fundamentals of the Jewish faith, that God spoke to all the people at Mount Sinai, and that all the people heard God's voice, and all the people were considered prophets at that moment. And this is something which is unique, which we find in the Jewish religion, the fact that everyone was there. Now, not everyone was able to handle it, and so there were 10 commandments. Only the first 2 commandments they actually heard from God's mouth himself, and then they said, Moses, we can't handle this. This is too great of a revelation for us. Can you say the rest? And then Moses said the rest. And that's what happened essentially at Mount Sinai, which is the continuation of the Exodus from Egypt. So they left Egypt, and then 50 days later, they received the Torah, they received the 10 Commandments at Mount Sinai. But that is a fundamental of the Jewish faith, to believe that everyone saw that revelation.
And the Passover is specifically what we're talking about today. So what exactly... tell us that story. I know we ask you this every year, but kind of go over it again if you wouldn't mind.
That's okay. We all do it every year. We all say it every year. And that's part of Passover, is saying over that story. The story of Passover is the Jewish people who were enslaved in Egypt for... originally, it started for 400 years. That was from the birth of Isaac. They were for 210 years in the land of Egypt, and they were enslaved to the Egyptians. And at that time, Egypt was the most powerful nation on earth. And to say that that entire group of slaves is going to be freed from Egypt was unheard of. Then you had the famous 10 plagues that was given to Pharaoh and his people. And finally, the Jewish people left Egypt, they were redeemed, and God said, I'm going to redeem you, I'm going to free you in order to bring you to Mount Sinai to serve me. And this is something that is very important for us to remember every day. And in the Jewish faith, we say this every single day about the exodus of Egypt. Why is it so important to remember a story about leaving Egypt 3,000 years ago? Why is that such an important story that not only we remember it every year, but we remember it every single day?
Right.
And the reason that it's so important is because slavery is something that every single person has to a certain extent, a certain level. Everybody is enslaved to something, even though we live in a free society. But people are enslaved into all different types of things. People are sometimes people are enslaved by other people. Sometimes people are slaves to their conscience. Sometimes people are slaves to their cell phones. Sometimes people are slaves to their addictions.
He looked at you when he said that.
I am.
So freedom from being enslaved is something that we have to do every single day. And the idea of Exodus tells us that you can do that. And once a year we have a special celebration to celebrate Exodus and say that you can be free from whatever you are enslaved to.
Oh, man, that makes me think. What am I enslaved to?
What are you?
This microphone. I'm stuck here.
Why did you look to Robin there again?
Yeah.
Am I enslaved to you? I hope so. Give me that whip.
Do your job. Gosh.
Sorry.
Well, you make a lot of sense, because when people decide to fall in love and they get married and have children, you're sort of enslaved to your family because you want to provide for them. You want to give them the best life possible.
Now, when God took the Jewish people out of Egypt, he said, I am taking you out of slavery in order to serve me. Mm-hmm. So in a sense, he was taking them out of one sort of slavery into another sort of slavery, but it was different because it was going from a meaningless slavery to a, although I shouldn't really call it slavery, but a service of purpose and of meaning. And so when you say your wife and your family, when you are given over to them, that is of a service, that is a meaning and purpose, as opposed to slavery of work, which is just simply being enslaved to something beyond yourself.
I love that explanation.
I want to ask you a question. I hope I don't get in trouble for asking this question. But
you never get in trouble for any questions.
The Jewish people have always been, for some reason, always condescended to, right? I mean, throughout history. And so the question is this: is America like the greatest thing that ever happened to Judaism? Because you can be here, you can be free, you can. I mean, it's such a serious accusation that everybody always is anti-Semitic everywhere. But at least in this country, if it happens, it's frowned upon. We make sure people know that that's not something you shouldn't do.
You know, by the Seder, which is again the meal that we have on Passover Eve. So there are two main parts of the Seder. One thing is that we eat the Matzah, which is the round flat bread, and the other thing is that we have 4 cups of wine. And there's a number of reasons why we have the 4 cups of wine, and one of the reasons is in correspondence to the 4 slaveries that we've been oppressed by throughout the history. The 4 different nations who have oppressed us. As far as we're concerned, now we are living in a country which is which is very good. It's a very passionate country, a very giving country. And this country is a tremendous opportunity for Jewish people that we've never had throughout history. And that also gives us an opportunity to live freely as Jews and to also, do what I'm doing here. To come and talk publicly on the radio about a Jewish holiday is something which is unheard of 100 years ago by any means within the Jewish community. And so, yes, we are very grateful for what this country has to give us and has to offer. At the same time, we say that ultimately, the ultimate hope of a Jew is that all Jewish people should be living in the land of Israel freely without any oppression there. And that's something that we pray for as well. At the end of the Seder, we say next year in Jerusalem. But we do appreciate everything that this country has given for us.
When you were doing the Hanukkah event down on the town square, you told a personal story of bumping into somebody who was Jewish, and that person said to you, "There's another Jew in town."
That's right.
And is that because everybody who was Jewish was not necessarily open about it? They were kind of like secretly being Jewish?
Well, there are many people who are uncomfortable about it. They're uncomfortable in their own skin. And this is unfortunate. This is not only about Jews. It's about many minorities. They have something that they are that they automatically feel that people are looking down upon them. And sometimes that's true. But for the most part, it's not. There are people that will give snarky comments or say things about being Jewish, and people say it to me. But at the same time, when you are uncomfortable in your own skin, so it's you see everyone looking at you in a certain way when it's not necessarily true.
Yeah. Well, but that comes from your history, your childhood, or whatever you went through in the past, and.
Absolutely.
Whether it's you or your family or just from history books.
Yeah. Look, there's no doubt that there is anti-Semitism. There are people out there. I mean, all you have to do is go on the web, open up any article that's about Jewish people, and take a look at the Facebook comments at the bottom of those articles, and you will see open anti-Semitic hate Jews.
Absolutely.
Go back to the Gaza, things of that nature. It's out there. It definitely is out there, but it doesn't mean that everyone's like that, and we do have many friends, and we have to realize that as well.
And we do have stories in the News Bites segment, which is right before this one, and we do read stories from the Jerusalem Post.
Yeah,
and it's very insightful.
And many of those sources are very good news sources too. Sometimes they have things that you won't find anywhere else. It would be nice if the mainstream media was a little bit more friendly to Israel. Unfortunately, you can probably say safely that anti-Semitism today has taken on a form called anti-Israel, and that's being preached as kindness and honesty and goodness in campuses throughout this country, where they're basically preaching to students and that supporting Israel is bad, and that Israel is not a good country, etc., and their apartheid and all this garbage which they tell the students on campus. And you could probably say that is the new form of anti-Semitism, the anti-Israel rhetoric that's going on throughout our country.
Well, what is your thoughts on the creating a separate state for Palestine? I mean, I know they have a different view of it than a Jewish person might have, but would that be a solution? I mean, if there was kind of, okay, here's a line, you live there, we live here. I mean, why don't we do it? Why don't they do it like we do here in America? Just there's Georgia, there's Florida, we're fine. You come to our theme parks, we go to yours, and everybody's fine.
They don't want it more than we don't want it. They don't want to have their own state. They don't want Israel to exist, period. This was already done in 2005 when Ariel Sharon gave back the Gaza Strip to the Palestinians. There were many beautiful Jewish developments throughout the Gaza Strip. I was there and I've seen it. There were beautiful houses, synagogues. They were importing, exporting there. There was business going on. It was a very it was a very functioning, many Jewish functioning communities there, and they were all pulled out forcibly from the West Bank, from the Gaza Strip, and we said, okay, you can have it, it's yours, take it, don't bother us. What do we get in return? We got rockets and fire and nonstop terrorism coming from there. So the answer is that they don't want it politically, and so that will never be a solution.
I wonder.
They want that the Jewish people will be thrown back in the sea. They say it clearly, they say it openly. It's not a secret. You won't hear it on CNN, but that's what they say.
And that is such a shame, because we, profess that we should all live together and coexist. Each religion by itself, for the most part, says the same thing, yet that's not practiced. with some people, and I just think that's
It is in this country.
In this country, it is.
That's why I think this country is.
Yeah.
We should be the example. We shouldn't
Right.
be. Yeah, I think so. Anyway, all right. We always learn so much from you. We'll take a little break, and we'll be right back. Rabbi Yossi Hecht is here from the Chabad Lubavitch Jewish Center. In addition to other things, we're talking about Passover, so we'll be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. Partly sunny and rather hot on this Wednesday with a high of 90 to 94. Increasing clouds Wednesday night with a thunderstorm or two late. Lows in the low to mid-60s in the northern part of the zone to 71 along the coast. Thursday will be a mostly cloudy, breezy, cooler day with a shower and thunderstorm around. High 74 in the northern part of the zone to 84 in the south. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Whether you're building it up or knocking it down, get it done, rent it now. Sunbelt Rentals is here to make your job a little easier. Our knowledgeable staff will help you find the right equipment for any job, big or small. Did you know that Sunbelt Rentals carries heaters, air conditioners, generators, lighting, traffic control, and so much more? So whether you're building it up or knocking it down, we've got the equipment you need. Get it done, rent it now. And right now, for a limited time, you can have it for less. Just by mentioning this ad, if you rent it Friday afternoon, you can keep it the whole weekend and only pay for one day. But this is a limited time offer, so stop into Sunbelt Rentals today, Northwest 27th, just a quarter mile east of I-75. For more information, just give us a call, 352-369-9101. 352-369-9101. Sunbelt Rentals. Get it done, rent it now. 352-369-9101.
Hey, this is Matt Wilkerson from Verizon. You work all day, right? So why would you want to spend your night out shopping for that new phone? Well, Marion County, let me and Verizon help you out. I can deliver to your home or office, saving you precious time. Phone, tablets, internet, home phones, even accessories. Whatever you need, we will deliver free of charge. Call me at the store, 352-528-0020. That's 528-0020.
The very best in quality is Captain T's Upholstery.
Hey, this is Dan. Let me ask you a few questions. Does your boat look better with the cover on? Has your car's interior seen its better days? Stop using a towel to cover up those rips in the golf cart. Isn't it about time you had it restored to better than new with a custom upholstery from Captain T? Captain T's Upholstery has been right here in Ocala for nearly 20 years, so they know how to make your ride one of a kind. Whether you want to take that classic ride back to a factory look or put your favorite sports team front and center, Captain T's Upholstery is who to call. 352-369-1810. That's 352-369-1810. Or stop by their location, 5030 South Pine Avenue in Ocala, just past the drive-in. And of course, don't forget to visit them on the web, CaptainTUpholstery.com.
The very best in quality is Captain T's Upholstery.
All right, we're being very philosophical here right now.
I know. I love when Rabbi Hecht comes in.
Okay, you have to lighten it up now.
Rabbi Yossi Hecht is here from the Chabad Lubavitch Jewish Center of Marion County, and the building we went to is not where you are. I know you've moved out a long time ago, so.
But we moved out a couple months ago.
Oh, was that it? Just a couple months?
Yeah, we're now in Oxford, and we have a nice, beautiful place there, a nice synagogue there, and we live on the premises as well. We have a room which is triple the size of what we've been using here in Ocala, and thank God we've been seeing tremendous success. And yes, we'll be holding our all of our Passover events on premises in the new location, and that's we're going to have 2 seders
Open for the public, for our community.
Two seders, and you can register for that online at jewishmarion.org. Each one begins at 7:30, and usually they run for about 2.5, 3 hours. And Seder is made up of 12 steps, and each one is a step which represents freedom. As I mentioned, there are 3 main foods that are eaten during the Seder. The first one is the matzah, which is the flat. We serve what's called shmur matzah, handmade matzah, which is a flat round bread. You can also buy matzah locally. Many of the Publix and the local supermarkets
Do you like
carry
it?
matzah.
It's really bland, isn't it?
It's sort of like a cracker. It's made of just flour and water, and that's what it's meant to be. It's meant to be a simple
Just
bread.
a bland thing.
It's meant to be that because it's supposed to represent humility.
Oh, okay.
It's called the bread of affliction. It's called the poor bread, all representing that idea of that in order to be free, you need to first strip yourselves of the things that are overtaking your life, and that's what's represented within the matzah.
Oh, okay. Like your cell phone.
Well, whatever that may be. Then you have maror, which is bitter herbs, which we eat. We eat horseradish and usually lettuce as well, and that's supposed to represent the bitterness that they endured during the slavery, and then finally the 4 cups of wine. And by that time, if you remember how to stand straight by the Seder.
I'm guessing the first 2 sound not too good, you know? I guess that's just part of the ceremony, huh? Do you have any good food after that, like those jelly donuts you bring?
Oh, then after you do that, then you can enjoy. We have plenty of good food. We have gefilte fish, which is a Jewish fish. We have matzah ball soup, chicken, meat. We have all kinds of foods. We have 4-course dinner that's served after the ceremony or during the ceremony, and it's really good. It's really fun. You can make a Seder really exciting. But it is done in a certain way. A Seder means an order, and there are those 15 steps in order that we do.
Where do you catch the gefilte fish? Where exactly do they swim? Hey, look, they look horrible too. Hey.
What days are the 2 Seders going to be?
It's going to be Monday night and Tuesday night, the 10th and 11th.
Okay.
Are the 2 Seders.
You want to take a phone call?
And then there are services throughout the holiday as well. I'll take a phone call.
Rabbi, you want to take a phone call? Good morning. Thank you for calling and for waiting. You're on the air with Rabbi Hecht.
Yes, thank you for taking my call. For whatever reason, if a person wanted to move to Israel and become a citizen, would there be any difficulty in getting that citizenship?
Well, if you are Jewish, then you have what's called the right of return, and you are able, and any Jew automatically is allowed to become a citizen of Israel. If you are not, then there is a regular citizen process which you can do, and I'm not familiar with the entire process, but you are be able to become a citizen of Israel. You probably have to first get some sort of green card, and then then apply for citizenship. I'm not familiar with the entire process, though.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Sure.
I've always wanted to visit Israel, yeah.
I really appreciate the fact that you open everything up to everybody in our community, no matter what holiday it is or celebration you're celebrating.
Well, everything is about education, and everything is about teaching, and that's probably what's the biggest cause of rifts and hates between each other, is simply not educating each other, showing what we are, what we're doing, why we're doing it, rather than having other people come and tell you why you're doing what you're doing, and then go around and tell others, but to educate people for what it is.
Does a rabbi give a blessing like a Catholic priest will give a blessing? Do you do the same thing?
There are blessings. We all bless each other.
Can you teach us one?
Everything that we do is a blessing. When we wake up in the morning, we say a blessing. When we
can you teach us one? I know we're almost out of time.
Okay. The blessing in the Torah that we bless each other goes as follows: Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, which means may God bless you and protect you. Yo'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka, may God shine His countenance upon you, and may He see only grace. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom, may God exalt you and bring peace upon you. And this is called the priestly blessing, which the priests give every day.
That was enjoyable to hear that. It's recorded, so I couldn't ask you to repeat it. It wasn't enough time. But I'll try to learn it. The Jewish part is going to be hard, the Hebrew part.
Look up the priestly blessing, and you'll find it.
Rabbi, thank you, as always, for what you do for our community and for taking time to come on the show with us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we will be right back. Share the video. We'll be right back.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu.
Trump never should have been handed this opportunity.
Democratic Senator Jeff Merkley has had the Senate floor